Good morning, guys. This is Kristen from Massively Tiny Stitches, coming to you with a new project, which I'm going to call my Freaky Friday project. It is, I can't zoom out enough for this, but it's on a painting canvas, actually, is what I'm using as kind of the fabric for it. And this is going to be my Friday series. I was thinking about trying to do some, what I'll say are weird projects, but where I'm using like unconventional materials or things like that, I think I'm gonna start doing a Friday series related to that part of it. So this is one of the ways that I have done that, is doing this on like an actual painted canvas. That being said, working on a painting canvas is definitely different than working on fabric, because the holes are that's the way I want to say this, in the spots where you don't expect them to be, I guess is the best description. So it's probably easier to see actually from the back. Oh, I don't know if you can see. There's Morgan, by the way. But if we look at this, the way that the canvas works, it's on like an even weave kind of fabric, but the raised parts on the front side are actually where the hole is, as opposed to being the negative spots. So it's kind of a weird backwards version of what that looks like. But so the grids are pretty even. It's just a matter of making sure you're in line with what it looks like on that side of it. So I'm doing that. The other, I guess, awkward part of it, where am I? Is that anytime you make a puncture, that is then permanent into the canvas. So unlike on normal fabric, where if you go through the hole in the wrong spot, it literally doesn't matter. On painted canvas, it does. So then it doesn't matter as much when you're in the middle, because eventually you're going to fill that hole with something else. But as you get close to the edge, I then become a lot more conscientious of making sure that I am going into the right spot before I puncture it, because I don't want that to be visible in the final product. You guys are also going to learn really quickly. This is one that I am going to do parking on a little bit, but you will very quickly learn that I am not I don't care too much that I'm in the actual exact spot when it comes to parking. I am probably going to regret that with this piece in particular, because it is I'm doing, I don't even know what the name of it is called. Let's find out what the name is. Many Winter Alley by Leonid Afremov. It's an Artecy pattern, but it is a if you know Leonid Afremov, he is very much a confetti heavy artist. He very much, I guess it doesn't matter where I put it. His art style, I think very much lends itself to doing tent stitch. It's one that I think fits very well for tent. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this piece. And it's also very confetti heavy. It's going to be very detailed, many color changes, all that sort of stuff. So me being not careful with where I'm parking, I then just have to be, double, triple checking colors before I start stitching them and making sure they're actually in the right spot as I start. But that's also why I am doing a little bit more of the parking, is because it is so confetti heavy that I hope that's not the right one. That I do want to make sure that I am filling in as I go, and that I don't wander too far. The other part of this is that realistically, I think the pattern is actually bigger than what this canvas is. So as I'm getting closer to the edge of the piece, I do want to also make sure that I'm cropping evenly or not stitching evenly for this pattern. So this is going to be one where I am stitching a lot more tightly in comparison to probably other ones that you have seen if you've watched any of my other videos. Very little in terms of that cross-country movements, really trying to tie everything to stitches that I've already done. It still will be cross-country. I am not going to be straying from that super far, but really trying to fill in as I go. Has been quite a bit. I'm gonna actually zoom in. It actually has been quite a bit since I have stitched in on a canvas. That's the word I want. Oh gosh, this is where it's hard for my brain. And this is why I'm not jumping very far. Because every jump I have to actually think about. I lost what I was saying. It's been a bit since I've done this. I don't remember what I was going to say. Top, bottom. One. Two. I think that's actually where it goes, but I am not confident at the moment, so I'm actually going to stop that color and leave it there. because this is on a painted canvas, there is it's called gesso, this, like the covering, I guess is maybe the best word I have for it, of the fabric. It is like this one is, it's like an acrylic or a, like, it almost feels rubbery, because it's a cheap canvas. It's not an expensive one by any means, in terms of a painter's canvas. So with that, it's a lot harder to remove. You can do it. I have one that I started, or I have the fabric that I was pre-poking the holes all in, just to make it a little bit easier as I'm stitching. Sometimes I will do that for areas that I know are going to be filled. What am I thinking? Apparently my brain is not wanting to work today. That the rubber texture does kind of flake off. So you will see as I'm stitching that there will be kind of some white specks. For those of you that have seen The Breakfast Club, I think of those as the like dandruff, quote unquote, from one of the characters in it, and that is just kind of a part of the experience of stitching in this way. But I like that it's pre-stretched. I like that it's that realistically, like, this is displayable even as I am working on it actively. So I have one that is always on my bookcase right now. It's of a black cat, and that is just kind of it's always an option, to just kind of put it up somewhere and say like, oh, this is a work in progress, but also it still looks cool as that's happening. So that's always fun. That's why I like doing them on this material for us, because, you know, I have too many projects that are languishing in my closet because I don't finish anything. Too many projects, too little time. That's right. Okay. I do have the second hand here to be able to keep me on track. I'm not really using that second hand though. It's really more about placement. This is one of those things related to that precision component of it. My left hand is just not precise enough to be able to make sure that it hits the right spot. And I don't know if you guys can tell. Can I make this visible? Not very easily. That, like, you can see the needle coming through the gesso. Slightly before it actually makes a puncture mark. And so I, just like you do in fabric, you do see that a little bit, but trying to make sure that that is as close to where it actually needs to be as I can. Again, knowing that it's going to be visible if it's not used. I don't need to worry about it too much right now. It is the very middle of the canvas, so everything is definitely still attached, but we're still gonna have extra spots. Just gonna get stitching on this guy. How has your guys' week been? Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, it's also very similar to like doing the smaller pieces where it's easier once you have other stitches in place, that then you use the stitches as a reference point as opposed to looking at the fabric. So that's also something that as this gets established a little bit, it will be actually significantly easier to be able to fill in these stitches. Don't need to worry as much about counting all of that jazz. But right now it's all kind of a little bit wibbly wobbly. Went to a stitching retreat, the only stitching retreat I've been to. It was a few years ago at this point, and I brought my project, one of my other projects that I have on a stretched canvas like this, and I will say everyone was completely like surprised is I guess the word for it, but very much like, how do you do that? Like, that's, like I said, weird, freaky. That's why it's my Freaky Friday project. It's not normal to be able to do it this way. And certainly the size of it doesn't help either. It's been a long time since I actually calculated what it was. I just have rough dimensions of what's possible. So this is I think it's a 12 by 12 canvas. But it's about 200 stitches to 220 that it can fit on it wide before it runs into where the wooden area is. So there's a little bit of flex there, but it does become a pain in the butt. If you do have to kind of push a little bit further. So I'm in this project in particular, I'm just going to be cropping it. Because it's a Leonid Afremov, like it being cropped just means there's less of the trees. If you know Leonid Afremovs, it's very much, he either does them in the street or does them in the forest. This is a, it's called Winter Alley. Maybe it's actually, I don't know. I don't honestly remember what it even looks like. It's been a long time since I've actually, like, studied the picture. I bought this pattern literally, like, maybe 3 years ago. It's been a long time. It was just one that really fit for the dimensions that I had. And I was in desire of a new project. I have not had the best of weeks at work. And so a new project felt like a fun thing to do. And so I did. That's what this is. Just my way of being able to do this. So this is what I mean by, so this, it looks like, at least on the image, it looks like it is just the fabric poking through, but this is actually the gesso right here. So I'm going to see if I can pull it up for you. where it is this little polka dot. You can see it moving around. So that will happen throughout the project. But as it gets stitched, that does come off. So at the end of it, kind of brushing it with a toothbrush is really the best way that I found to be able to get rid of all of them. And it will make it look just like a normal cross stitch for us. Doing a lot of cross-referencing in this early stage for sure. So like this one, as I was putting it in, this was the double check that I was doing, but that it was in line with this stitch right here, that I hadn't somehow been a little bit off in terms of where the holes were on the fabric. Because it is a little bit more guessy of where I am in the fabric. I just have to make sure it continues to stay aligned. The other thing when looking at fabrics, if you ever decide you want to do kind of a canvas version of a project, is that as you're picking fabrics or canvases, not every canvas has an even weave as their base. The canvas underneath the gesso. That is not true for every canvas. And second, is that you have to look to make sure that as they attached the canvas to the wooden frame, that they did that relatively evenly. Like on this one, it's actually tipped a little bit to the right, like this side is a little bit further up. I don't think in this case it's going to be one that's super noticeable, but it's almost like them thinking about like a project at the finishing line that hasn't been blocked appropriately, that you are going to have a little bit of that skewedness, and really there's no way of adjusting it unless you're going to take it off the canvas, which at least in my opinion defeats the purpose of having done it this way, because I am doing this intentionally as a display piece. I'm just going to actually drop that thread. So I just kind of leave it knowing that it's going to be a little bit skewed, but that to me adds to the aesthetic. I don't know. There's a rusticness, right? Like if it looked like it was machine made, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, but if it looks like it's machine made, then what's the point in having hand stitched it, right? Like, I think errors are a part of the beauty and what that looks like. Those of you that work with larger Q-snaps or larger frames, generally speaking, are probably more comfortable with the like the arm positioning of a larger frame. I, on the other hand, are not, so it's kind of like this, like, I have to fully reach around to the outside to be able to reach the middle of the canvas right now. As I get kind of, especially over to this left side over here, I will probably be turning the picture upside down and backwards to be able to not have as much of a strain from reaching too far. It's a little bit of mental gymnastics as I do that. Oh, that's not the right spot. Let's make sure I do that correctly. But yeah, so this is this project. I have both dogs in the room with me today. So as you saw, one was sitting at my feet, the other one sitting in the dog bed. The one, Gwenny, is the one in the dog bed, and she is very much, I'll call it a restless sleeper, but she likes to itch and scratch and do all those stuff, like even while she's asleep. Not allergies or anything, we've checked that out, but she just likes to rub her face into things. It's one of the ways that she shows her affection. It's funny, she will just come up to us and then push her head into our hand or into our side just to show us that, like, hey, I'm here, pay attention to me. And that's how she shows us that she wants her cuddles for the day. I joke with people that she is my autistic dog. She very much likes, like, deep pressure squeezes and, like, it has a hard time expressing her emotions like other dogs seem to be able to. She just barks in frustration. Is kind of the only emotional expression she has. Which, I mean, I guess that's my interpretation of it. There are probably people who are like, no dogs have emotional expressions, but I disagree with that sentiment. You can probably imagine with this kind of stitching, removing stitches is impossible to do without making a mark. There's no, I mean, technically you can reapply gesso, but this is the way that the canvas came. I am definitely not going to do that. It's kind of like a paint, I guess is maybe the best description of it, but it's a paint that's thick. So it just leaves a layer, right? So thinking about applying that, then you don't want it to go on to stitches or anything like that. So it, generally speaking, just doesn't happen. You will not reapply. have to be a little bit more careful. Oh, I'm gonna go back over here. Me, I don't know what I want to do. The spots are scattered just enough that I don't know that I like this right now, but that's alright. I'll make it work. There's 1, 2. In some ways, I don't think I've ever done one of these projects with a full cross. I also wonder how much of the counting carefulness I have to do with it is because I'm doing 10 stitch. That there's already that like brain doesn't process it in the same stitches or in the same spots as kind of what other stitches are, or counting becomes kind of a little bit weird. So I wonder if that's in part what actually makes this project a little bit more difficult. I have a needle minder over here. This is one of those weird projects where I actually do use a needle minder because I don't like, generally speaking, the weight of them being on the project. But in this case, again, trying not to make unnecessary holes in the canvas. So needle minders are the answer to that problem for us. I just don't use them often enough that I didn't even think about the fact that I have one sitting over here. I should have mentioned or specified I am using one strand. I do have a cut there. One strand doubled up with a loop start method. That's what I'm doing for this project, or at least right now what I'm doing for it. I'm using fairly short threads. That one forces me to not travel so much. If I do, I have to start a new one. But giving me a little bit more of a leash for myself. I feel like this week I've been deprived of Flosstube. I don't know that I've actually been watching it any less. Maybe it's because it's been a few days since Kamari has posted, at least at the time that I'm filming this. And that's usually where I interact with the Flosstube community the most. Is in her live streams. I do a little bit in Yogi the Slow Stitcher. I do interact in that one, but my problem with that one is that I'm usually at work when she's streaming. It's just not the same as you are watching replays. Yes, you can comment and stuff, but it's so funny watching videos of people that I usually am commenting on, right? So Yogi the Slow Stitcher, Ankamari are, again, the two main ones that I do. And if I'm watching a replay of it, in my head, it's the same thing as watching it live. And so I'm like making comments right away. I'm like, oh wait, nope, this isn't a live chat. There aren't, like, making a comment now isn't going to change anything that happened, parts of it. So like, with Yogi, she, you know, sometimes makes mistakes, and I'm like, oh no, there's this thing that's happening. It's close enough that you can see the mistakes, and she has the pattern there visible, so we can, you know, help cross-check for her. There have been quite a few times where I'm like, oh no, she's off a stitch here or there, that, like, I don't know if other people just didn't notice, or, you know, didn't care enough in that moment to be able to be like, hey, that thing is wrong or different. Certainly she is okay with fudging a little bit here or there, especially after a thread has been finished. So by the time I'm watching an instant replay, I don't think it's worth it to call that out. So, you know, her projects just have personalizations, just like mine do. There, you guys, that's in part why I don't show you guys my pattern, because I will say I make personalizations quite often, intentionally or otherwise. I very much will throw a stitch here or there that's not what the pattern says, just because it's the only one of that color around, and I'd rather just not start and stop a thread if it doesn't make a difference for the picture. Looking forward to this weekend, though. I think our friends are gonna go see the movie Scream that came out this weekend. I think is actually the first weekend. Maybe it came out last weekend, but just going to a movie with our friends. And certainly Sunday will be Dungeons and Dragons as usual. With Dungeons and Dragons, I have a fantasy that, like, creating a small icon image, small stitch, right? Like 10 by 10, 20 by 20, a little pattern that describes what happens. Kind of, it's almost like a pictograph of what happened during our session. But then I remember how limited 20 stitches, even if I did a 20 by 20 project, or like a symbol would be for the day, how limited that is in terms of space. And do I have the time to commit to more than that every week? And generally my answer is no. So there's the fantasy of like having a log of week by week what it looks like, and at the end of the day knowing that that's not something that's going to work well for me. It's not going to be sustainable, and then I'll feel bad about having dropped the project or not kept up with it. So I haven't done that, but if there's a good way to do that, right? Like, I don't know, maybe even doing that as like an embroidery project as opposed to doing actual cross stitch. Maybe that's the solution. I did have enough thread for a couple extra stitches, so yeah, I did just jump down here to be able to do that. Come on. There we go. Alrighty. Oh, that's a pretty color. Super vibrant. I do only have 4 stitches of this color though. So then I'm probably gonna call it quits for today. Somehow it's already been 45 minutes. How weird is that? It just goes so fast when you're stitching. I don't know how that's a thing. Just disappears. Come on. There we go. I think I may have even made this thread too short for doing 4 stitches. Oops. Well, do what I can. Alrighty guys, this has been a grand total of 82 stitches, woo woo, as I'm working on this project. Good, it's a good start to at least what this looks like. Oh, I lied, I'm not going to finish right now. I'm going to take this thread back and go the other direction. That is connected to where I've already stitched, as opposed to where I parked it. I'm going gonna cheat a little bit. Undo my parking. You guys get bonus stitching. Because I do have it all attached down here. Yes, I'm fully aware that this is making my back messier. And also, still a safer option. Safer option. It will. I'm less likely to have errors. And also, from a practical perspective in my household, less likely for my cat to try to pull the thread that's still attached to the front. It's a big part of why I don't actually park very often, is that if I put it down somewhere and I'm not really thinking about it, my cats will definitely lay on the project. So I have to actually lay it face down so that it doesn't get warped. But then too, they will try to pull at any loose threads that they see. And when they do that, that will probably rip a hole in this fabric in particular. So I don't want to do that. This one goes somewhere right here. Is that right? Yeah. I'm glad I was able to finish that thread out. That's better. Alrighty, guys. So now I'm at 91 stitches in 48 minutes. Still slow going, but that's just me, I think. I don't think that's the stitching problem. Alrighty, guys. Well, I will see you again next time. Next Friday on my next Freaky Friday day.